Hi there, welcome back to the channel. And here's today's victim, or should I say project. It's a Nordmende Galaxy Mesa 9000. And back in the day, this thing was kind of radio that made your neighbors think you're either working for the government or speaking to aliens, I'm not sure. Up front, we've got the full luxury package. It's got more knobs than common sense. It's got a tuning scale, yeah, it's kind of large, and enough switches to make you feel you're arming a missile system. And of course, Nordmende's version of styling, which is, well, whatever this is. Spin it around, and the back isn't shy either. You've got external antenna inputs, speaker connections, voltage selector, and the kind of ventilation slots that sort of make you wonder just how hot this thing really got in 1974. Basically, it's got everything you want in a radio, plus a few things you didn't know you needed. I haven't opened it yet, but I'm expecting the usual. Dried caps, questionable repairs, possibly, and at least one odd surprise that makes me question humanity. So let's have a closer look, and then we'll power it up and start giving this Nordmende Galaxy Mesa 9000 the spa treatment that it's probably been begging for since the Cold War. From the tone of my introduction, you might think that I'm not particularly fond of this radio, but in fact, I've been looking for this thing for some time now. When I restored those small Nordmende receivers, which are amongst my favorite, somebody mentioned this, and I'd never seen this before, never come across it, and I decided to look it up, and I was fascinated with it. This thing's got some of the usual things. It's got long wave, it's got medium wave, it's got FM, which apparently is stereo. I read in the description that it's got a stereo multiplexer. I'm not sure, I'll have to check that. But it's also got a shortwave band, which is quite interesting. It's got shortwave 1, 2, and 3. 1 goes from 1.6 to 4.5, 2 from 4.5 to 12 point something, and then 3 from 12 point something to 19. But then it's got this thing over here. This is the commercial bands, and it is selected with one of those drum tuning systems. So you can actually just select the band. You see, this is the 20 meter band. It starts at 13 point something, it goes to 14.5, and then you'll tune on here. So this will be perfect for receiving the 20 meter amateur band. If we go down, there's the 7 megahertz. So the 40 meter band again goes from 7 or below 7 megahertz to 7.4 megahertz. And this again will be perfect for the for picking up the amateur band, and so on and so forth. So most of the commercial bands are on here, and they're very well spread out. So this is a very good band spread. The other thing it's got is it's got double conversion. So I'm not sure which one. I think it's on, I know these use double conversion, these commercial bands, and I believe shortwave 3 as well. So this thing's got a 460 kilohertz IF, but then on the upper frequencies of the shortwave, you've got double conversion. So it's got two IFs. It drops it to a 2 megahertz IF, and then it drops it to the 460 kilohertz IF, which gives you better image rejection. I'm taking a guess here, but I'm guessing this is supposed to be sort of in the range of the Satellite 2100. Yeah, probably the Grundig Satellite 2100. I'm actually looking at mine as I speak. So it's got a lot of the features that the Satellite 2100 has, and also a few that it doesn't. For example, we've got the volume, treble and bass, which is the same as most radios. But then we've got, this is the on-off switch, we've got radio or external input. It could take a tape input as well. AFC is for FM, but we've got BFO. It does have a beat frequency oscillator, so you should be able to decode the single sideband transmissions on the amateur band without having to use an external BFO. And then it's got something that's pretty cool. It's got preset FM stations, 6 preset FM stations, and you set this to wherever you want, wherever your station is, and when you click it in, it comes in automatically. I presume AFC kicks in automatically as well. This is when you want to do free tuning of the FM band, so not sticking to one of the presets. This up here, this thing seems to be broken. Shove it. And it's stuck. Yeah, it's moving, but it's very, very tight. I'm not going to force it. I'm not sure why. Is this supposed to allow you to tune very fast? How fast would you need to tune? I know this thing has got a little lip that comes out. So this thing clicks in like that. You bring it out, you select the band, and then you tune within that band. but I'm not sure what this is supposed to do. I'll have to fix it and figure it out. Over here we've got the band switches. We've got shortwave 1, 2 and 3. They're a bit tight, but they're working. Medium wave, long wave. Bands, I presume this is the presets. This is the free FM. No, bands would be the shortwave bands. This would be FM. What is this? What is this? This is when you've got, I don't know what that function is. This would be for the dial light. A few scratches on here, but nothing too serious. It's got 2 antennas, and they are fine. They're not broken. That one there is for the FM, and this one here would be for shortwave. This is a longer one, also in very, very good condition. And here are the external antennas. This is the FM. What does it say there? It says pull out, main plug before the opening the cabinet. Okay, makes sense. FM antenna, external, the AM external antenna. This thing here, okay, this will be for the batteries, and there is no damage visible in there. This is probably just to store your mains cable. Yeah, this is where you'd store your mains cable, because this is mains powered. It's got mains power, it's got battery power, and I believe it has an external DC plug here somewhere. That's your phono input, and that's your probably tape out as well. Speaker output. There's the external power. 12 to 16 volts DC, and your main selector. That's the whole thing, I think. Is there something on the other side? No, nothing there. All right. The beauty of these radios from this era is that you get really good service manuals, and this one is particularly good because not only do you get the original German, but you've got a translation here to English. So that makes it really easy to go through everything. And look at this. You've got each board with the schematic of the component side and the solder side. And look at the detail. Look at the resolution here. You can see everything. This is fantastic. This is really great. I love the way these old radios gave you what you needed to restore, to repair, whatever. The schematic, it's divided into 4 pages, but I'll show you what I've done. Very simple to stitch these together, and I've done that. Here's the continuation of the switchboard, the FM tuner with all the connection and adjustment points, and then you've got the alignment instructions, again, with a translation. The instruments required, you can see that is in German. Then you've got the English over here, voltage adjustments in English. All this has got English as well. This is fantastic. This one is particularly good, the way they've done it. And the alignment points on the switchboard. What else have we got here? Some more alignment points over there. I presume that's the FM front end. I'm not sure. The dial string. It's got everything. Brilliant. And if you look over here, it's actually got chassis removal. It tells you how to remove the chassis. I mean, how much more information do you need? Let me open this up, see what it is we've got inside. So far, I've been a little bit cynical, and then I've admired it. I think the inside will tell us what the final verdict's going to be. Whoa. Yeah, there are a lot of little fine wires on here. We have to be very, very careful. This thing is full of little coils, and I think I understand why. This is where the drum tuner steps in. That's interesting. Their system is slightly different to the Grundig. Let's have a closer look. See, the way this works is that there's like a pulley system on here. These are the switches, and on the switches you'll have all the tuning or the alignments for the various bands. And then when you rotate that, you're literally rotating the switch in there, and it'll switch in the respective band's components to give you the it'll give you the RF alignment section, the oscillator and front end for that particular band. So that's just like that, and it's working well. That's working fine. The tuning condenser at the top for the AM is the one that seems to be kind of stuck, and I can see it move. It is moving, but it's very tight, and I don't want to force it. I think this is probably just dried up grease. It should be quite easy to loosen it up. If you force it, you can break the dial string or something like that, and that becomes a nightmare. So I won't mess with that. The FM tuning is down here. Okay, that's no mystery. And we've got the switches over here for the tuning presets. There are a few components there that might have to be looked at. And this is the main part of the power board. We've got the transformer in here, I believe. The voltage selector over there, some fuses. That's probably the rectifier. Filter cap, there the output transistors. So this here will have all the power and audio. Very similar, in fact, to the Grundig Satellite. The Satellite is more compact. It's a lot busier inside. This thing's got quite a bit of room. This should not be an issue, trying to restore this, trying to get to the components. The Grundig Satellite 2100 and 3400 are a lot more compact, a lot tighter. This one seems to have enough space for everything, which is a relief. Makes working on this a lot easier. So that's the main board over there, the power and audio. There's the IF chain. There are a lot of adjustment points on here. You see all that? That'll be all the RF and oscillator adjustments. There are a lot of adjustments, a lot of them, which is fine because the instructions tell us exactly what to do. Now, the question of stereo. Where the hell did they get the stereo idea from? There's one speaker. So where would you get FM stereo? The only explanation would be if you have this, if you use this as one speaker and the external speaker there as the second one, but that doesn't make sense. I don't think this thing's got stereo. Maybe I just read it wrong. So there we are. There's the back of the Nordmende Galaxy Mesa 9000. 50% of it is empty space. That's fine. They weren't selling this by the meter, so I guess they gave it the space they believed it needed. Pretty impressive insides. A lot of work went into this radio. These are definitely not sort of the rubbish that was mass produced after this era. I'm looking forward to starting on this. But before I do that, I want to power it up and see what it is we've got before I start messing around. I want to see what it's receiving, if it's even doing anything, and then we'll know where we are and we'll be able to plan a lot better where we want to get to. Let me turn it around, power it up through the dim bulb limiter. I'm going to power it up through mains and see what it is we're getting out of this thing. I've got this thing connected to the dim bulb tester. I've got maximum restriction on there, so I've only got one 40 watt light bulb. So there's a short. Hopefully it'll do a good job of restricting the power or the current. So let's see what we've got here. We've got these guys in the middle. Let's put this over here. Let's select, what am I going to select? FM. I'll put the FM antenna up a bit. I'll select the free tuning on here. That's radio, AFC on, BFO off, power on. Whoa, whoa. Okay, all right, there's something there. And it's receiving. That is really noisy. That's making a noise, but it's working. This thing is loud. The tone controls are working, they're a bit noisy. Is AFC working? I'm not sure that AFC is actually working on here. So let me try these stations. I think the way you do this is you do, well, let's try that one. It's at about 100. Not getting anything. I wonder if it's, no. Doesn't look like this is working at all. Okay. That's working. The presets are not working. And that's FM. Let's try the long wave. Whoa. Oh, that's this guy over here, which I can't really tune. Medium wave. Just went quiet. That switch at the top there is very dirty, but it's picking something up. I think this is actually working, but I'm loath to force that, so I'm not going to force that. Let's try the bands. Don't expect much on there because I don't have a proper antenna, but these are shifting. Well, that's a nice surprise, especially the FM. That is good sound, really good sound, and it's very loud, but there's a few problems with the preset tuning. Really noisy pots, which are easy to sort out. Probably one of the first things I'll do, and release that, because that needs to be able to move smoothly. This thing over here, this dial point is sort of being dragged. It's angling along, so it probably needs lubrication as well. I'm keen to try the AM because I want to try the BFO, but I guess the thing to do is to start. And where do we start? Well, I have this sort of rule, and my logic is this. First, the power. Make sure that the power supply is working properly. We know it's working, but we make sure that it's working properly, producing the right voltages, producing clean DC. So we've got to make sure that the rectifiers are fine, change the filter caps. In fact, one of the first things I'm going to do is to replace all the electrolytics on here because these guys are going to be dead by now. Make sure that the power is coming in from the mains, and also when we put in the battery power that it's all getting to the right places. Check that it's getting to the boards where it's supposed to. So the first thing is power supply. Once we're happy with that, we turn to the audio. So preamp and power amp, get the audio section working, and then it's working backwards from there. When I say backwards, on the schematic of the radio, you've got, you start off with the antenna signal and you go through all the way to the speaker sound. So we go backwards. So first thing is power supply, then audio, then the radio sections, probably first the AM and then the FM, and then we've got cleaning to do. So there's a lot to be done here. So I guess I'll just shut up and start with this bottom board here. All right, folks, it looks like a lot's been done, but not really. Let me tell you what I did. I followed the instructions to remove this from the chassis. All it took was 8 screws from the back. This thing comes out complete, knobs and faceplate and all. I've removed the faceplate in the meantime because I wanted to get to the back here. And this is when we start seeing the innards. One of the boards is completely visible from this side, so you can work on it quite easily. And I have replaced these 2 capacitors. These, actually 3 of them. Here's one, here's the other, here's the other. The rest are, I might have to replace this tantalum over here. I don't trust tantalums, but I wasn't focusing on this initially. I just wanted to get this done because it was, well, pretty visible. I cleaned the sliders and the switches and also the FM pre-selection controls over here. Then I lubricated every pulley over here. I cleaned the glass. This pointer is now working fine. It doesn't seem to be tilting like it used to be. I think this was too tight. There are a couple of little things broken on here, so this thing probably had a fall at some point. And the one thing that I found out, and I'll be showing you that on the schematic in a minute, is that the question of the stereo is, yeah, it's a misnomer. This radio had the ability to have stereo, but this one does not. And it's very easy to figure that out because when you look on the inside, on the board, there are only the transistors for the one output stage. I don't know why they'd want to do it in stereo, because the way they did it is you'd have to have this speaker for one channel and you'd use the external speaker for the other channel. I think that's crazy. The sound would be different, the speakers would be different. I don't know why they bothered, but I guess marketing was already starting to drive decisions in those days, and we all know where that ends. And so this board is practically complete. The things I changed here were the selenium rectifier. And in this case, I put a bridge rectifier inside the enclosure after removing the guts. I just wanted to leave it as original looking as possible, and it fit quite well. And then I replaced a few capacitors. There's one here, And I think there are a couple of tantalums that I left out. Yeah, that green one's a tantalum cap, but I'm going to have to look more closely. I think I see another one there. Yeah, that's a tantalum as well. So I'm going to have to look through the board carefully and replace that as well. But before that, let me show you some of the spaces for the components for the second channel, which don't exist on this one here. You can see all the spaces there for the components that have not been populated, that being for the second audio channel. And in fact, if you look at the drawing, the layout, you can see that the two transistors go in there, the two transistors for the second channel, and they are not the same type as the ones used in the first channel either. So even the transistors would be different for the second channel. Speakers different, transistors are different. Yeah, bit of a folly. And there's really only one adjustment you need to make on this board, and that is the idle current of the output transistors. And the way you do that is you break a solder connection on the underside of the board, which I'll show you. They tell you to set it on FM, put the volume down to 0 and adjust the idle current to 6 milliamps after it's warmed up a little bit. Let's do that. I broke the connection, or rather I sucked up the solder, and now I'm going to connect the multimeter on ammeter across those two little wires, those little temporary wires that I've soldered on there. So I'll switch it on. It's on FM, and I'll put the volume down to 0, and we need 6 milliamps. We've got 8 point something milliamps. So I'm just going to adjust that little trimmer, bring it down a bit. Oi, this is really, really touchy. Really touchy. I've just got to keep letting it settle and try and bring it down as close to 6 as I can. It's not that important, not that critical. If it's up to 6.5 like we've got here, is perfectly fine. But what I'll do is I'll let it play for a while, or let it sit for a while, and try and get as close to 6 as I can. And that part is done. Well, here's the schematic so far. And as you can see, there's very little painting going on here. Very few components have been replaced because I've only really worked on that lower board, which is the supply and the audio stage. And just to make things easier, this particular radio has only got one output audio stage because, as I've mentioned, it's not stereo. And it's clearly visible here the way the stereo works because you've got one output stage here, preamp and the power amp with all the tone controls and the volume control here. Where is it? There. And you've got another one up here. And this one doesn't exist on the board. So this schematic is greatly simplified when you look at this particular set. But as far as the power section is concerned, I've replaced the bridge rectifier, the selenium rectifier, with a silicon bridge rectifier. I measured the voltage over here and I expected a slightly higher voltage and I got it. I think it was 18 point something, but that's good enough for this. So I marked this as green. I replaced those two capacitors. And then here I get 12.3 volts. This is a Zener, so I would expect it to be about right. And other than that, there's not much else. The rest was replacing a few of these caps, like this DC blocking capacitor on the output transistors. The two transistors are push-pull, and because this is a single supply amplifier, you have this at about the middle of the rail. So you block the DC, and it goes to the speaker. In fact, it doesn't go to the jack, it goes to the jack and the speaker because due to the fact that this doesn't have this channel, the wiring of the speaker is slightly different on this radio. The adjustment that I made was here. I broke this solder connection. You just suck up the solder, you're left with two little connecting points there that opens this line up. Put the multimeter across here, the ammeter, and then you adjust this guy over here till you get 6 milliamps. That's what I've just done. Other than that, there were a few of these capacitors on the board which I replaced. These are the first ones I did, electrolytics, and then there were a couple of, yeah, here we are. There were these as well. These were all tantalums, and I replaced these two over here. The reason I replaced them, first of all, I don't like tantalums. They do tend to go pop and they smell like crazy, and I don't trust these. I don't know how old they are. They might have actually been replaced already because they are a different color, but never mind. I replaced those two. The reason is I want to find out why my FM presets don't work. And I know the FM preset system has to do with voltage. It's a voltage tuning system. So wherever there's a voltage and a capacitor, if the capacitor shorted, that voltage won't be there. So I'm not quite sure. I haven't looked carefully to see where that is yet, but I'll replace these anyway. These guys over here I left alone. And the reason I left them alone is this is in fact a tantalum, but it's across the meter. So the meter's working fine and it's not a critical section. I left it alone. And these two I left alone for a different reason. These are the discriminator caps for the FM detector. And the FM's working perfectly fine. I don't want to tamper with it if I don't have to. And because it's working fine, I left it as orange, meaning I haven't checked it. And I presume they're working, but I haven't checked it. So that's where we are with the schematic so far. And a few other little things have also happened. This particular knob has been fixed. There was a little clip that had slipped down there. That's fixed now. And I've also managed to loosen this up a bit. It's still not as smooth as I would like it to be, but it's working. And actually, as I'm doing it now, because I sprayed it again last night, I can feel it smoothening up, loosening up. And I think this will get to the point where, you can do this. I really don't know why they do this. I think maybe it's just to give you a little bit more leverage to fine tune on there, because this is very tight. Let me show you what's happened with the shortwave. The FM is still working fine, but the AM's got a problem. Listen to this. I can tune, I can plug in or select the switches. It's on shortwave 3. It's like I'm getting a signal, but that's the noise I get. So something is wrong with the AM. This happens on all the AM bands. That's shortwave. That's medium wave. And I know that I'm supposed to have a station over here. Wherever I'm supposed to have a station, that's what I get. So there's definitely something wrong there. That's long wave. And that's those bands. And there's nothing. So something interesting is going on here. And I'm not exactly sure what. But that's what makes this fun, because now I get to start following the signal path, figuring out what's wrong with it. I'll probably still do the refinements of the FM first, because I want to get the presets working. But yeah, I always like it when there's a bit of a challenge. When it's just changing a few capacitors, it's a bit boring. But for now, that's where I'm going to leave you, and I hope you've enjoyed that. Hope you've enjoyed this look at the, I guess the competitor to the Grundig Satellite 2100. It's from about the same era. Looks like they tried to put on the market something that would beat the Satellite 2100. So far, I don't see it. I really think the quality is not quite up to what the 2100 presents. 2100's a lot sturdier, and this thing is a little bit starting to go to plastic. Starting to move into the plastic era, which is an era that I didn't like at all. But anyway, that'll be the next video where we carry on figuring out what's wrong with, with this landing pad. Hope you've enjoyed that. And if you have, click like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And if you want to support the channel directly, please do so on Patreon and PayPal. Links are in the description below. So once again, thanks for watching. Bye for now. And most of all, stay sane.